Well, Martin Scorsese is one of the movie world's really distinctive directors. His list of credits include Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, Mean Streets, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, and The Last Waltz. His latest, to be released shortly, I'm guessing, The King of Comedy, stars Robert De Niro and Jerry Lewis. Would you please welcome Martin Scorsese?
And I always envied filmmakers like Scorsese who make quintessential Scorsese pictures.
I mean, Scorsese is so much film and love of film. I might be a better director if I just had dinner at his house every week and we just talked.
The man lives and breathes cinema, and he always talks about him as this young man, with asthma, with his father, watching film after film after film in a contained environment of the theater, and the drive to try to do something as great as all these people that he's admired for decades and decades, and he looks at this as the great modern art form.
Despite its humble origins, Bring on the Dancing Girls reflected the burgeoning New York underground film scene of the late 50s and early 60s. Influenced by avant-garde filmmakers like Cassavetes, Scorsese embraced a DIY ethos. Filming on a shoestring budget with non-professional actors, in 1965 New York, Martin Scorsese embarks on his first feature film with a meager budget, funded by a loan from his father, starring the unknown Harvey Keitel. The film, Bring on the Dancing Girls, marked Scorsese's entry into a vibrant era of cinema. At the time, the world was witnessing a revolution in film, with the Italian New Wave and French New Wave redefining cinematic boundaries. Scorsese was inspired by these movements, eager to contribute to the evolving landscape and minimal equipment. This approach allowed for spontaneity and authenticity, capturing the raw energy of New York streets. Scorsese's early vision, however, faced challenges. His debut screening at the New York Film Festival met with criticism for its disjointed narrative. Undeterred, Scorsese received support from his mentor, Hatepi Manujan, who helped secure additional funding for reshoots and editing. With renewed effort and collaboration, including the talents of editor Thelma Schoonmaker and actress Zena Bethune, the film evolved into a more cohesive story. The final iteration, retitled Who's That Knocking at My Door, premiered at the Chicago International Film Festival in 1967, garnering positive reviews from critics like Roger Ebert. Despite initial setbacks and budget constraints, the film's journey symbolized more than a directorial debut. It epitomized the support and perseverance crucial for emerging filmmakers. Scorsese's early experiences underscored the vital role of community and mentorship in nurturing artistic talent. His dedication to authenticity and detail, evident in scenes rich with personal reflections and cultural nuances, foreshadowed his future contributions to cinema. Who's That Knocking at My Door not only launched Scorsese's career but also celebrated the collaborative spirit that sustains creativity in filmmaking. In the vibrant streets of 1960s New York City, a young filmmaker named Martin Scorsese embarked on a groundbreaking journey with his debut feature film, Bring on the Dancing Girls. Scorsese's journey was not without its hurdles. His debut faced criticism for its disjointed narrative at the New York Film Festival. But with the support of mentor Hatepi Manujan and collaborators like editor Thelma Schoonmaker, he reshaped the film into Who's That Knocking at My Door. Premiering at the Chicago International Film Festival in 1967, the film captured hearts and minds, marking the beginning of a remarkable career for Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese's early films not only shaped his cinematic style but also celebrated the collaborative spirit essential to the art of filmmaking.
Come on, hit him. Hit him. Sure, I'm going to hit him. You watch me hit him. It's real smart. Yeah, of course I'm real smart. I'm smart. Joey, of course I'm smart. Smart Joey, turn up the radio, man.
Film what it is that you know. That's one of the best bits of advice for any young filmmaker, and for Scorsese, it was the mission. Bring on the Dancing Girls follows a group of young men wasting away the hours, and the intent behind it was to capture a portrait of the world that he inhabited in a way that no one else could.
I only got one more thing to say. Now, what are we going to do? We're trying to. What's the matter? You haven't been listening to me for the last 10 minutes?
Keitel's character JR is a cloudy autobiographical stand-in for Marty himself. The crew shot in their own homes and apartments, on their own streets and churches. This was their world. The narrative that unfolds is light, the dialogue feels spontaneous and improvised, and there's a sense of aimlessness reflecting the characters' own experiences.
The sense of, the film's a sense of boredom, there's a sense of, I couldn't help that. The film is boring at times, but a sense of no direction, and not the Marty kind of no direction. Like, where do you want to go tonight, Marty? I don't know, where do you want to go, which is truthful, but it was a different kind of thing.
How do you capture a world and put it on screen? There are numerous answers, of course, but as simple as it sounds, the one that I think Scorsese tried honing in on here was focusing on hyper-specific details. In fact, just look at the opening scene and you can see it all there. The Virgin Mary statue, his mother cooking, the banter on the streets, the gang brawling, the pop song playing over everything. There's something about details like these really distinct pieces from his own life, that I think wind up resonating in a way that more of a generalized take just probably wouldn't. Today, some of these things may seem so commonplace that they're hardly worth mentioning.
Now, how the hell did they ever get a hold of the Searchers?
The what?
The Searchers. It's a movie made about 11 years ago. That picture of John Wayne is from that movie.
We're at a point where having characters discussing minute details about movies and pop culture has probably reached overkill, and nobody bats an eye anymore when pop songs are used instead of a traditional film score. But in the 60s, this was more of a rarity, and for Scorsese, it was key to translating his world to the screen. Like Cassavetes and Shadows before him, this does feel, as corny as it sounds, like a product lifted right from New York streets. Except there was just one problem. That wasn't enough to hang an entire movie on. In the fall of 1965, a 1-hour version of Bring On the Dancing Girls was screened at the 3rd Annual New York Film Festival, and was a total disaster.
I still didn't have the script right. I was fumbling through it. I'll never forget the letter we got back from Richard Browd, who was actually wonderful person and was a great festival. He created extraordinary festivals there in the 60s and through the 70s. It was like another university, really. And but he knew me because of one of my student films was shown there. And I was there for all the press screenings. So I got my first feature and I showed it to them. And we got Haig Mnuchin got a letter back saying, I believe you're living aesthetically beyond your means.
3 scotch and water.
There was a feeling that the piece as a whole just didn't function correctly. Individual scenes of the guys driving around and hanging out around the Lower East Side worked well when looked at by themselves, but nothing really held the film together. The details were there, but there was no through line, leaving the whole thing feeling undeveloped and vague and just messy. Naturally, Scorsese took this hard. It'd be difficult not to, all the more for a young director working on their first major project. But in that clip you just heard, he mentions a particular figure who went on to spin all of this in the right direction, someone without whom Scorsese may not have gone on to have the career that he's had. This is NYU film professor Haig Mnuchin, one of Scorsese's mentors in his early days. The story in Bring On the Dancing Girls may have been about depicting the world of youthful camaraderie Scorsese knew, but the story of its making is one that turns on the goodwill and support of the community around a young artist. Months passed by after the disastrous screening, but Mnuchin still saw potential in the film and in his former student. And so, to his major credit, he decided to help Scorsese ramp things back up and save the movie. Mnuchin, his wife Betsy, and their lawyer friend Joseph Weil scrounged together $37,000 to finance a hefty reshoot.
Listen, why don't we shoot the scenes that he never shot, which is with the young woman, and intercut them with the scenes with the young men, to give it some sort of a narrative thread.
Scorsese spent 6 months rewriting the script. Friend Michael Wadley was brought on board to lens the pickups. Marty's college pal Thelma Schoonmaker was hired to re-edit, and actress Zena Bethune was cast to play a returning Harvey Keitel's girlfriend, and the story began to take on its final proper shape.
Hey, you come around here a lot? I mean, you got people over here?
No, this is the first time. I just came for the ride.
The ride? What ride?
The ferry.
Oh, no. You mean to tell me you do this for fun?
JR and the girl meet, fall for one another, but everything crumbles when he's unable to reconcile the experiences that make up her past. Like the gang he pals around with, JR is emotionally stunted, a character with an infantile perspective who's equally obsessed with and terrified by women and by sex. To him, there are whores and there are Madonnas, and nothing in between.
And tell me something else while you're at it. And who else is going to marry you while you're at it, huh? Tell me that while you're at it, you whore. Because that's what you are if you don't know it by now, you whore.
Some of this probably rings a bell. JR is among the first in a long line of characters Scorsese has been molding and remolding ever since. A figure trapped by guilt and confusion, someone mesmerized by gangsters and movie villains.
You always like the bad guys, huh?
Lee Marvin, now there's a real bad guy, you know.
But whose view of the world and of morality and masculinity is warped because of it, and who ultimately remains lost in a cycle of self-destruction.
Honest to God, I didn't mean it. I'm just so confused by this whole thing.
Go home.
Plus, to add to all of this, there was a new title.
First? What do you mean first? Who goes first? I go first. No, I know you go first. What do you want me to do? Call second? First?
The final version of the movie still has something of a fragmented structure to it, but it does flow with a real sense of energy. He may joke that it's a bit boring, but Scorsese and Schoonmaker are clearly just having a ball with the edit. And watching it today is like watching kids in a candy store just throwing everything they possibly can at the wall and seeing what sticks. I mean, watch the movie for the Watusi sequence alone. Trust me, it's just great. Now completed, I Call First screened at the Chicago International Film Festival in November of 1967, where a young Roger Ebert saw it and raved about it. But it would be another year before a distributor would snatch it up for release. Once again, Haig Manoogian swooped in and worked a little magic. Manoogian met up with an old friend, exploitation producer Joseph Brenner, whose company largely put out adult films. Brenner agreed to purchase the movie, but on one small condition.
Every film had to have some sort of sense of a nude scene, at least. It was the late 60s.
And so, one final scene was pieced together, which you are free to check out on your own, because I gotta keep things PG. After years of work, a final cost of $75,000, and one final title change, Scorsese's first feature was finally released in the fall of 1968. The stories behind directorial debuts are something of an obsession of mine. The movies themselves are often rough and uneven, but they are valuable and inspiring. For Scorsese, Who's That Knocking at My Door was a sign of things to come, including and especially for the third film in that original intended trilogy that later became his first truly capital-letter great film. But it's also a tribute of sorts to all of the people who helped him along the way, to those who supported a young artist. We talk so often of directors that we sometimes brush past these folks. I'm as guilty of this as anyone else is. None of our favorite filmmakers got there on their own, and I think that maybe here, in the ultra-low budget, make a movie with your friends on the weekend stage of a filmmaker's life, that kind of encouragement and support is more important than at any other time.
And it's a hard thing to do. And there's no way to do it but to do it, and to fail, and keep failing. Every now and then you might come up with something.